Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my recordings. I was inspired to record this audio by some interactions that I've been having recently, in which I see a lot of people attempting to place blame on other folks for things that are happening in the comic book market. And I think that people are forgetting some lessons and maybe forgetting some things that transpired not that long ago. And specifically what readily comes to mind for me is that over the last couple of years, there was a concern in the comic book community about whether the hobby was going to survive. There were a lot of people that were concerned that there was not enough new blood coming into the comic book market to allow it to make it for the future, to make it to the next generation. And I remember people making all kinds of comparisons to stamps and currency and other hobbies that have essentially aged out, where the average age is much higher, and that the hobby doesn't look like it's actually going to continue because everybody that's coming into it, if they are coming into it, are older. And there was a lot of concern about that. Now fast forward to where we are today, and we now have people that are essentially blaming new people that are coming into the hobby for all of the bad stuff without necessarily giving them credit for the positive, giving them credit for the fact that new people are always needed in a hobby to allow that hobby to actually survive and endure over time. And instead of placing blame and saying that these people are the cause of all the bad stuff, we have to acknowledge that there is some good that comes with it, but more importantly, that we actually play a very important role. The we that I'm referring to are those out there that have a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge than those new people that are coming to the hobby or newly returning to the hobby. We have a responsibility to actually help these other people get up to speed so that they actually make better and more informed decisions versus making lots of mistakes. And to some degree or another, that is the fundamental purpose of my channel, helping people to make sense of comic book collecting. This is what I attempt to do on the channel, which is to help make all of us smarter about this hobby, regardless of our experience level. And I do this partly because when I came back into the hobby, I had a lot of people that made me feel bad about the things that I did not know, that made me feel bad about the mistakes that I made, and I did not like that. And so the channel, to some degree or another, attempts to create an environment that I wish that I had come into when I came into this hobby again at the end of 2017 into the beginning of 2018. And so I say to everybody out there that is listening to the sound of my voice, I ask you, what can you do to actually help the other folks that are in this hobby that have less experience than you? How can you help them get up to speed? How can you help them to make more informed decisions? How can you assist them so that they don't make bad decisions, get burnt out, and walk away from the hobby? And then we find ourselves where we were a couple of years ago, wondering whether this hobby was actually going to survive for our kids. Ask yourself, what can you do? And I don't mean in the way of the guy that stands on his porch and yells at the kids that are on his lawn to get off his lawn. That's not what I'm talking about. The guy that tells people to pull up their pants. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying, what can you do to actually help people and not criticize them for the things that they may be doing that are slightly different from how you do it? Because the reality is that, in my opinion, there is no wrong way to do this hobby. All of us should be given the freedoms and liberties to do what we think is in our best interest, but maybe with a little bit of guidance from people that have more experience than us, that have the ability to humble themselves and share information versus being condescending and being judgmental. I absolutely love this hobby. I love this hobby. I have so much fun creating videos, creating podcasts, creating content, sharing with you guys, interacting with you guys in chats and all that kind of stuff. I love this stuff and I want this hobby to be here long term. And I hope that people appreciate that that's where this message actually comes from. It comes from a place of enjoyment. It comes from a place of hope that we can all continue to grow and develop and, experience this amazing hobby that in many ways is a wonderful form of entertainment and also escapism. And so it is my hope that that is what people will hear as they listen to this. With that said, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.